Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast, My Hero Academia edition. Today, we are talking about My Hero Academia Season 6, the next 4 episodes of My Hero Academia from 18 all the way to 21. And we have the My Hero enthusiast with us, Miss Andrea Alanese. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. A little tired, was out and about in the city, so I'm ready to just talk to my hero because I've been itching to talk about it for a few weeks now.
Yeah, and before we even get to it, for people who watch My Hero or listen to this podcast, this is the second to last one of this season because the next time we are back, season 6 will actually be over. It's 25 episodes, and episode 22 will be this Saturday, March 4th. So, Andrew, we're at the end of season 6.
I know, and we're almost at the end of the end, like right at the start of the first episode of this little block. I mean, it gets into like I forget the verbiage that they use, but it was basically like the final something. And I'm like, oh my God, that really hit me that my hero is almost over. We've been repeating it, you've been repeating it to me forever, but like seeing it on the screen of like actually knowing it's really almost done.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, okay.
So, last time we left off, I mean, everything was in Williams' terms, shambles.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the war was over. People were recovering. The Todoroki stuff,
Mm-hmm.
people breaking out of prison, and then
Oh yeah.
finally Midoriya fully leaving the school of Class 1A. So then, before he is off with, I guess this is jumping a little bit. How do you feel now about this? It's really almost a covert team in a
Right.
sense.
It
So
is. And so for me, because for anybody just new joining us, like I don't read the manga. Martin, I don't think you've read the manga either. So when it came to kind of the spoilers that we knew he was going off on his own, I really thought he was going to be solo, like 100% on his own. He ditched All Might, he ditched everybody. I had no idea he was going to have a sort of like covert team, like you're saying, kind of backing him up a little bit. I'm getting the sense after these episodes that he might still like go off on his own here in a second, but that was a welcome surprise to me, and I'm glad that he's not completely on his own. But I was surprised pleasantly by that.
yeah, I didn't think he'd be on his own. I knew he was leaving the school. Like that was an
Yeah,
100%. Like when
yeah.
I said he was going to be on his own, it's like he's leaving UA to be of like work undercover and all of that uh stuff. So that's at the end of this episode we're going to talk about. So we'll jump back to that. But at the beginning of this episode, it's literally titled the main protagonists, antagonists, Shigaraki and Midoriya. In this episode, before Midoriya fully wakes up and he leaves all that jazz, he's in his head, literally
Yeah.
talking to the previous wielders of One for All, because they even said before you wake up, we got to have a little chat.
You need to have
And they're talking about the situation and blatantly, I mean,
point
Shigaraki's
blank.
grandma
Yeah.
asked him, "Is like, would you kill him?" So when you heard that, what were your thoughts?
My immediate thought was like, oh, Martin, Martin, she said it. My thing though, it was like it hit me harder because like obviously all of the previous vestiges are asking, but for Nana to be the one to like go up, walk up to him, and have this very like, I mean, she was determined, but you could tell there was pain in the fact that she was the one asking point blank, "Can you kill my grandson?" Like she didn't say it like that, but we know it's her grandson,
Mm-hmm.
and like so for her to be like, "Can you do it? Can you kill him?" It was like, oof, oof. Like you didn't want to have one of the other ones ask instead of her, but I mean, it does hit harder because it is her asking, and the fact that she is kind of aware that Shigaraki may be a completely lost cause, and for family, like that's something very difficult to like come to terms with. But yeah, so that was my first thought was coming back to you like straight up. And we've had that conversation where it's like, yeah. And they also during this whole meeting, they kind of really put to Midoriya, like, yeah, you're probably going to be the last one.
Yeah, and the reason they brought that up too, which that it I guess from shouting out Blue Lock from an ego perspective,
Mm-hmm.
that made me like, just a little up because there have been times where I've told you I was like, I think he's going to be the greatest hero ever because he dies.
Maybe.
So because he dies stopping All for One and Shigaraki once and for all, and now them saying that he's going to be the last wielder of this, I'm like, well, that's more. There's more of a possibility of him going out in the end. But they also said with which was very interesting, how I think it was the Danger Sense person said like one for all that he died of old age, but was only
At
40,
40. Yeah, at
and
40.
and he
And they
had
were
one
like,
for all for 18 years. So 40 minus 18, he was in his young 20s.
mm-hmm.
And they truly explain that since the quirk is getting stronger and stronger, like it's best with someone who does not have a
Have a
quirk,
quirk. Yeah. Yeah.
because that's wild that he died at 40. All Might had one for all for 40 years.
Yes.
So that is, and then brought back to your thing, like he may be the last one, which now I'm like, he is going to be the last one. But like we've seen in the opening of this show and the
Mm-hmm.
closing, the talk no jutsu stuff coming in. Midoriya gives his spiel
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, he, you know, want to try and save him. It looks like he was in pain. Yada
Mm-hmm.
yada. He's done so many bad things. I want all that stuff, but and then Nana's crying and all of that. So, what did you think of that? And do you think that's going to change?
I don't think that's going to change. I think there's going to be a talk no jutsu. I think it's going to be very difficult, but I think there is going to be a talk no jutsu moment. For me, the kind of part of the opening where you're seeing kind of like Deku's like, I don't want to say vigilante mask, but like when he goes off on his own and kind of like that. Because we, at the end of the episode that we're going to finish this podcast on, you kind of see a little bit of, at least to me, I feel like I saw a little bit of hardening in his eyes, like getting really like kind of fed up in a way almost. But so that layer comes off and he's back to like his, I'll call it his pure self, whatever, his idyllic self.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then with Shigaraki, the layers that peel off, to me, the layers kind of remind me of trauma. So like Deku's trauma comes from the war. So it's like kind of one layer coming off. And then Shigaraki, it peels back and it's him as a small child. So like it's yeah, I think Deku's gonna get in there, the talk no jutsu, and save him, but I don't necessarily think this is gonna be like a Naruto Sasuke moment where like Shigaraki gets off with, just kind of being able to do something in the shadows. I do think Shigaraki is going to have to be like locked up, or maybe they're going to do something, make it a part of the new justice system that if you do like horrible atrocities with your quirk, they're going to erase your quirk.
Yeah, I don't. This no, it won't be anything near the Sasuke thing. That dynamic was completely
Oh, right, right,
different.
right,
There's the absolute closest, which anytime he did it with the person they died would be like a Obito. Like that's the
right.
closest thing. And he dies in the end. So it's like that's the absolute closest. But I don't think I don't know. With Shigaraki and All for One, I don't think you get to that point. Because All for One, you do have to kill him,
Yeah, no. All for one needs. Yeah, no.
which still don't know how it's going to happen. Because if you let's say you detain All for One and Shigaraki again, as long as he's alive, he can just make more and more plans to
Yep,
get out, control the next. Like his influence is everywhere, as
everywhere.
we've seen with the jail and all of that stuff. So you do have this moment though, once he finally wakes up. Um, his mom is there, which is
Yep.
still funny enough. Dude's halfway to death and no father to be seen.
Right,
But,
right. And I'm
but
sorry, like circling back to the whole like the one for all is like better with people that are quirkless. The first thing that popped in my head was like, fuck, what if Deku isn't actually quirkless? Like what if the theory that Garaki took Deku's quirk as a child is true? So then technically, is it still totally true that the like imprint his original quirk would have left in his body is truly gone? Like, and if not, then if he doesn't, do the sacrifice play per se, would this quirk, because he's going to be the last one with it, would this quirk kill him sooner? because he's not giving it away again, that it's not going anywhere else. And he technically might have already had a quirk. So if there is that, like, that memory, that cellular memory of quirks, even if he doesn't have it anymore, like, could that be a thing that he's gonna die like super young, and that's why he's narrating it as like he's dying of old age, but he's only like 35 or some shit. Like,
Yeah, it could be. It could be with that. So then we just go to the thing where obviously then Hawks, Blue Jeanist confront All Might about One for All. They
mm-hmm.
talk, all that stuff, and then again they leave. And then you have the covert team of Endeavor, Hawks, Blue Jeanist. Well, first they do their public conference.
They do
They
the
talk
conference.
about Dobby stuff. They talk about Hawks killing twice.
That was kind of anticlimactic to me. Like, I know they needed it to be like very like point blank, like, yes, this was true. What Dobby said about this was not true, but what I'm saying about my family, what he said about the family, that is true. And it would, like, I don't know, maybe I just really wanted there to be more, but it was pretty short and pretty like to the point.
Yeah, short to the point. I mean, Endeavor doing the call for like the heroes out there, especially that one guy who I felt bad for, who got the stuff thrown at him, like the washer dryer dude, who
Yeah,
was
it's a
like,
girl.
"It's a girl." Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was a guy.
No. The washing machine hero. I'm pretty sure it's just Wash, isn't it?
Wash. Well,
I,
Wash got treated like poo,
shit,
and
yeah.
then they show Wash as like, like, oh, maybe I should do.
Watching the conference, yeah.
And then you see other like heroes thinking like if they want to do it or not. And then they leave. And then finally, like we've already said the last episode, he leaves, gives the truth about One for All to like some of the students, and then
Yeah,
leaves
all of
leaves the
them.
school. All
It
of
seemed
them.
like he wrote a note to everybody. I honestly thought he was really going to only leave like a general note saying that he was leaving, but then like a full on, like, thank you so much only to Uraraka. And we only get to hear her letter where he does say thank you for everything, blah, blah, blah. But everybody had a letter. And not to like say Deku wasn't friends with everybody, but like the first person we know that says something about the letter is Mineta, that he runs up like, Midoriya left me a letter, blah, 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 and everybody else has letters in their hands. So I think he wrote it to literally everybody.
No, he did write it to everyone. All of them there. It's just the last person you see is Uraka. I think in these past 4 episodes, you were focused on that. My focus is on the two people you do not see get the letters,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, Todoroki and Bakugo.
Bakugo.
Obviously, I mean, he didn't, I don't, knowing him, he didn't put in there like All Might and Well, obviously, like Bakugo's known about the secret for X amount and didn't say
Yeah.
anything, yada, yada. But like, I would want to see what Todoroki would have said. And I also, because his letter to Bakugo would have to be completely different than everyone else's because it's
Yeah.
not about the secret. So those two were not shown. Those two actually have not been shown since the hospital.
Yeah.
So my assumption from usually the rival character's perspective is Baku's already somewhere like training. Like he's
Yeah.
like, you probably left because you thought I'm too weak, which you're not, but all
Right.
that stuff. But those are the two interested. Then I find it interesting how All Might, Midoriya, Hawks, Endeavor, Best Jeanist, these are the five that are going to beat All for One and Shigaraki once and for all, which in these past episodes, I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me
I don't think
because
that's how it's gonna be. I don't
these are the five who are they're the only five looking for Shigaraki and All for One,
that's true.
which doesn't make sense to me because we literally just, if we couldn't beat them
With the
with
full
it,
force, basically with a split army. Yeah.
with prep time, like you knew what was happening, you still couldn't beat him. I don't know how you five are going to beat him when they have more people and you guys have significantly less because their plan is to use Midoriya to draw
Mhm.
them out and then
Right.
beat them. But
Right.
I don't know how that's going to go on that. The only thing that on this episode that's the similar stuff is since this stuff is based on like like has a lot of American comic influence and all that stuff.
Mhm.
All Might and Midoriya's relationship now, since Midoriya's the one going out there, All Might's providing the support, all that stuff, it's now become a more Batman Alfred relationship.
I was about to say that, yeah.
That's what it is now. I mean, he's their back. He's on the comms, giving directions.
Mhm.
Midoriya comes back, heals him up, gives him food back, and then it's like that's their new relationship now. Which again, that's stuff from American comics. Anything else on this first episode?
I think the only thing else to note that I really thought was interesting that I didn't see coming was during the press conference, they're setting up kind of like quasi safe zones, and that they're trying to evacuate
Mm-hmm.
all lay citizens into basically any hero high schools that have enough space and security. So
Mm-hmm.
like they basically have put out a nationwide alert of like, hey, like please evacuate to your nearest. And that basically puts the other students on notice because up until it's the start of the next episode, but up until that point, it's like, okay, we know there's UA High School. We know there's at least a couple other hero high schools, but that doesn't cover the whole of Japan. Like,
I think
and they don't know,
also,
they don't have any idea where they are at all. Like, they don't know, hey, they're camping out close to here or they're in the northern half of here. Like, they have no idea. They're just kind of they really are throwing Midoriya out like fishing, just throwing him out there, reeling him back in when he needs to check in for food, water, like all that good stuff, and then casting him back out. Of course, he's kind of casting himself out there, but still, like that's they don't know anybody's in that city. They have no idea.
yeah, but they've gotten to a point too where they trust him because that's why I think it's so crazy how these five are going to catch every jailbreaker
Mm-hmm.
in the whole country and also find the two main bad guys and beat the two main bad guys. Well, we could
Yeah.
obviously they know more about the abilities and all that stuff, but it's
But
wild to think that it's like it makes no sense.
All for One could also just be out here stealing quirks again. I mean,
That
he's
is
getting
true.
more quirks.
That's true. The more time they take, the stronger they. It's a horrible cat and mouse game from that regard. So then
Yes.
you go into the next episode called Full Power, and I'm not gonna lie, the beginning of this episode really pissed me off. Not for the way the civilians felt.
Yeah, right.
I fully understand it. It's the fact that why in My Hero Academia's Green Earth, after everyone is decimated, and we were
Right.
calling for these people for the other school finally decides to show up.
I
That makes
know.
no
I
sense.
know. That was where I was just like, wait, oh look, it's Yo. Like it's Yo, and then the weird turtleneck girl that like goes into her own body. Like, why the hell weren't y'all part of like anything? Like, really, if you're gonna put a mass alert to all these heroes and you're gonna use the UA like provisionally licensed freshmen, why would you not use the provisionally licensed third years of these other schools? Why? Why?
I
Like
don't
what?
get it. It makes no sense for them to be here now. Like it's truly mind boggling. Like, why are you here post fact when we could have used all of you? I mean, I know you were. I know I got to a point where I was like, "They're not coming, Andrew," and you were like,
I know.
"No, they're still
I was
coming."
really hoping. I was holding out hope. I was yes. I really thought that they were gonna pop in there and do something. But part of the reason that they're, on screen now is again because of the call to make all of the hero high schools shelters. So we see Yo and I don't know her name basically going out to talk to the civilians about like evacuating behind the safety lines back behind the high school so that they can protect them and all that good stuff. And they're like, we don't trust y'all to protect us. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what? Basically, calling them on the shit is like, how are we more protected behind y'all's lines when y'all were doing? We're supposed to protect us on our lines, and you still didn't. The place is still wild, still crazy. You like whatever. Like I didn't. I felt frustrated like watching it because like I know logically having provisionally licensed and the licensed heroes like on campus is safer than these people like protecting themselves, but if that's the route that they want to take, that's the route they want to take. So I felt like there were a couple more back and forth than needed. I was like, y'all just turn tail and go back home, like just
I
whatever.
just
And then muscular shows up,
That's
like
true. We have a return
oh,
from the class of season 3, which was one of Midoriya's iconic moments, the one for all 1,000,000% protecting
yeah,
that kid. But just go like the school thing is just still baffling because these are third years who are showing up, and it's like,
yeah,
okay, if you
I
just
had
wanted to send
forgotten that
out
they
your
were older. I
yeah, they're
forgot that
third
they were
years.
third years. Yeah.
They're a million and like they're the big threes age. But why didn't you? Okay, if you did want to send your first and second years into the thing, fine. But you could have sent your third years are about to graduate. They if they're at the third year, you have your provisional
Right.
license. So it's
Right.
like the fact that they didn't send anyone is just
I just want
baffling.
my thing is I wonder if the commission even called them. Like if the commission was like, no, we can't tell like all of the high schools because like we don't know where the leak is, or like we if we alert the other schools and maybe the villains would notice. Like I just want to know why they weren't there. Like what was the thought process? Because y'all should have known you needed more. Because okay, alternate reality, Hawks doesn't kill twice.
Twice. Mm-hmm.
They would have been overrun with one person's quirk. Like,
Yeah.
why would you not have more people? Why?
And I'm gonna put it out there right now. I don't think we're done with Twice's quirk.
Really?
Oh no. I from especially after when we get to it, the final episode of this fourth thing, All for One is just he's on a
Oh
whole
no, he's a
different
fucking
level
menace.
planet.
He's always been. Oh my god, he's.
He could
Oh,
have foreseen that there could have been a situation like if he because he's like, if I was in command of the hero thing, I would kill Twice too. Remember, I could see him having Twice's quirk in the closet somewhere in a secret lab where the doctor had a secret lab. I don't think it's over.
I pray it is. Oh god, I pray it is. I really do.
But you do have the blast from the past with
Muscular.
Midoriya and Muscular, and
Yes.
even Muscular's like he's like, oh, I know that voice, even
I
masked
know
up and
this bitch.
everything.
Let's go. Like, I kind of forgot how much like what was his name? Was it Rappa? The person that Kirishima and Fat Gum fought, the one that used to do like UFC fighting, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just just out for blood, just wanted to fucking fight. I forgot that was what Muscular was like. And so like watching the new fight or the redone fight, I was like, oh yeah. Mm,
But you also see fully a new quirk. You
yes,
see Smokescreen,
you do see.
and when we get to some other stuff, when we get to the last episode, like this is another quirk that he gets. Obviously, it's really good from a hero standpoint of blinding enemies, covert going in,
Mhm.
like saving people without being seen. So you see that, and then you also see. And again, I don't know how many push-ups or how many people Muscular was beating up, but let's just say he's a little bit stronger than he was at season 3. Let's just say
Right,
he's a little tiny bit because he's been
right.
training in the jail and all that stuff. You see how far Midoriya has came from season 3 to
Yep,
season 6 because once he hit him with Delaware Smash, it was over.
it was. And part of the reason for that, I will say, from what I understood, is Yo is the one with the vibrate quirk, the one that kind of looked like Midoriya, but not quite so much. He had the vibrate quirk, and so
Yep.
he basically let out his vibrations on Muscular's external muscles at full force. Of course, it didn't really appear to do much.
Mm-hmm.
However, as the fight progressed, Midoriya kind of recalled, like, hey, like when you overexert your muscles, they kind of like peel back like layers. And so he also placed that Detroit Smash in like the exact place it needed to be from that like delayed damage or overexertion of those external like armoring muscle on Muscular, which was part of because of Yo's vibrate quirk, which was great. I was actually surprised Midori is still top level functioning because when he did this, it was 45%. I was really hoping we were going to get another jump to where his max would be closer to like 55.
No, because even I had to, because I even forgot he was at 45 because at the end of this episode that just came out and they showed the
Yes.
45, I was like, oh, he went up. And then was like, oh, no, he's
No,
still at
he's he's
45,
he's still at 45.
which is fine. But yeah, he,
This is
after,
still
when you see when we talk about the improvements from the, like,
oh, sure. Yes, for sure.
it's fine right now. But again, one punch after that stuff, and Muscular's out, which is crazy to think about how that fight was in season 3. And he delivers Muscular to jail, comes
Yep.
back. the alpha relationship, eat some food, then he's off again. I will say one of the biggest things from this episode too was obviously his talk with Gran Torino. And he's like, hey man, Gran Torino's like, oh, Nana's still crying even in death. Then Gran Torino's like, man, I should have been the one to kill Shigaraki. Like, don't be stubborn. Sometimes death
Yeah, sometimes
is saving them,
is
which
saving them. Yeah, is putting. I mean, it's saving them from themselves and doing even more unspeakably horrible things. I
which
will
is
say, call
mm-hmm.
back to the previous episode. The way Nana said, "What is Gran Torino's first name?" Surahiko.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our decision came back to haunt us,
I
or
mean,
our decision, like that it was the both of them. I think he is Shigaraki's grandfather.
oh, I don't, man,
I
I don't
am
know. I
convinced
can't.
it's their kid. It was their kid. I am convinced.
No way. No way. Because then I'm just sitting
The
here
way,
like,
the way, the maybe the translation is off, but the way it was said, the way she also clung to him when she cried, like I was getting the feeling. I feel like it's true. I feel like her son is her and Gran Torino's son.
I don't know. I mean, the cling part, I feel like that's a little stretch because,
Well,
I
right,
mean,
but
if you're
like,
super close to someone, like, even if you had a kid or not, like, you're super close, you can cling like that to someone.
yeah, yeah, no, truly. Yes, that was giving me feelers though. And then the way she delivered the line, I really should have written it down, but the way she delivered the line, or at least it was translated in the sub, really made me feel like our decision. It was our decision, like hers and his. And I'm like, unless it just means that she talked to him about it and that was his advice, which I mean, that could be totally plausible, but I think it's the both of them.
I just I can't see for the fact that both parents of Shigaraki, it was his dad, because she was Shigaraki's mom, dad's mom.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just see like both of them just because that would be even because of both of them. I believe then Shigaraki's dad should be the villain.
Right, right.
But
Well, and that's the other thing because he only ever talked about his mom. We never really knew what happened to his dad. But I wonder if it was kind of like, hey, since you're also a hero, like we'll keep you out of the picture, or whatever. And I don't know. I just I didn't. That's those are
well,
the
keep it for your we'll swing. I mean, keep it on your list of your potential things. Like when
my
I said
conspiracy
people,
theories.
yeah, like when I said people were like when I was like, oh, Midnight or Eraser's dying, and he was leaving, hang on to that like that, and then maybe season 7, you can be like, you know what, it's fine, it's my turn. I told y'all that it's true. Like
I
this
just
is,
feel like it's not important enough that we would actually get that reveal because I feel like
I don't know, but the thing is, I feel like that would have if it would have been revealed, it would have happened when Shigaraki. When I thought he put a hole in Gran Torino's chest.
I know you when you said Gran Torino was done, that he was dead. I was like, nah, like he
I mean,
logically,
the angle looked like he got his heart taken out, literally.
yeah.
That's when I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. But I do like finally, like Gran Torino gave Midoriya his little cape thing, so he's wearing
That was
that.
cute. That
Even though
was
I was
cute.
I'm still super pissed how I thought Shigaraki's one was going to be his grandma's one, but
I
no,
know
it's
that
just
would have been so dope, but no, it
tragic.
just
They
so
messed that
happened to be
up.
like there.
Dress that up. Next episode you had was Hired Gun. With this one, because I told you at our last one how I said she was Hawks' predecessor.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you were like, oh, I was like, well, yeah, she's the real deal. So now, even before that, you see this mutant woman being attacked by like civilians thinking she's a villain, which
Yeah.
she's not. And then Midoriya saved her. Midoriya's like, hey, I understand why you guys are uneasy, but look, she's not fighting, she's not resisting.
She's scared, like she's not hostile, like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, the whole yeah, and then he was like, why'd you come out right now, like when it's dark? And she's like, I was getting scared and da 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 da. I didn't shelter right away, blah blah blah. And
Yeah, then
it was really
All Might
sad.
takes her to the shelter, doing the whole Alfred
Mhm.
stuff. And then you go back inside Midoriya's brain, where the very first one for all user is telling the second and third, like, hey, it's kind of getting to that point where we
You
might
gotta
be
help
getting
him out because
to
during the
the
meeting,
final
these people
battle.
are face to the wall. They're just facing the wall, not engaging, and we're kind of just like, is it for me? I shouldn't say we. I was just kind of like, are your vestiges just not coming through? Like, what is this? Because they were just head to the wall, not saying shit.
It looks like now, from now seeing that and like analyzing, it looks like each person decides when like they have their own when they want to help. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and
It's
they
what
were
they
even
decide is like, yeah, you're ready. Yeah,
yeah,
let's go
let's
ahead.
help.
Yeah,
And they even talked about like the second and third talking about they were alive when One for All was at the peak of his power. Like when All for One was at the peak of his power, I was like, God, that's a scary time to live.
yeah.
Like, and they were fighting. Their
They're
problem
both in
was that
similar outfits. Like
they
we
were like in the
find out
same. They had to
yeah.
be in like the same thing, but their problem is they don't like when Midoriya's like, oh, I could save whatchamacallit, Sugar Rock. They don't agree with that because like, and I get it from other anime standpoint. If you're the ones who were born in the war times
Right.
and like all you were doing was fighting and you see All for One killing everyone, you're like, how could we save someone like that? And then obviously now Midoriya is seeing his first encounter with the war. So I
Mm-hmm.
get it from that thing because that's the same thing in real life. Like if you were born and living through War 1 and 2, and then you're sitting during like peace times and you're like, we can't do that. But now we have Midoriya, he's doing his thing, but we have a hired gun
Yes.
on the newest lady of the My Hero slash anime scene, Lady Nagi.
Nagan.
Naga, yep.
Yep.
She is the new hottest thing on the block.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you think about her one appearance, demeanor, voice acting, and
Oh,
this
the
her
voice acting
quirk?
freaking top tier. Top tier voice acting appearance. I I think they really hit the nail on the head of her level of emotional detachment
Mm-hmm.
because like you said she was Hawks's predecessor. So she was a hero, but she was the safety commission's hero. And so as aptly named as this episode is, she was the hired gun. We didn't get too much into Hawks's backstory where we see him kind of pulling out more situations like with the whole twice thing, but it
Mm-hmm.
seems like for her, she was doing that shit left and right.
Yeah, that's
Um,
more, and that's definitely in the last episode where
yes, yes. So I'll not get too deep into that, but the fact, I mean, the name of the episode to me was just so perfect, especially considering that her quirk is, I mean, she lifts kind of at the elbow, out comes the barrel of a gun, just hired gun.
that's I
Too
mean,
perfect, too freaking perfect. But her emotional detachment, her kind of like her current situation, because in this sense, she is the hired gun because All for One, um, kind of saw her escaping, knew who she was like, so, I kind of want you to do this for me. And she's like, well, why would I do that? Like, you just let everybody else go without any sort of payback or directions or whatever. Why can't I go? I don't remember what exactly he enticed her with, but yeah,
you did talk about like her past about
that's
you
true.
know being like she was the best shooter because that one hero they showed the commercial too. He's like, I was the if so and so wasn't around, I'd be the best shooter in Japan, but
Right.
she is around, and you just see her like it's all strategic because everyone's getting attacked. Like All Might gets attacked, like his car
Mhm.
goes flying, like cuts communication off. Even you see a flashback of Hawks talking to Midori. He's like, if this person comes out, I want you to
You to
run.
run. You need to run. Like when,
So,
yeah, that flashback, I was like, oh shit. And I really thought about it. I was like, will Midoriya listen? Will he listen?
and also just again, like All for One is just it's crazy because he he doesn't even have to pay you in money and all that stuff. He's like, oh, you'll do this for me. I'll give you a quirk. Like that is what we're doing now because obviously that rifle stuff and the modifying of her arm, that's her original quirk. All for
Mhm.
One's just like, oh, here you go. Now you
This
can
will really
airwalk.
your ability, you would have more range, you would blah 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 blah. Like it really helped because I mean, yeah, she's a hired gun, but she's primarily more of a sniper. So
Mm-hmm.
like all of the limitations that come with being a sniper, he gives her a fucking airwalk quirk, and she just tap dancing on the air, just like boom, boom,
Just casual.
nonchalant. I'm just like, how the fuck do you use a quirk so well, so easily, or so soon? Like, what the?
How do you turn like from like anyone? Why would you turn down all for one's thing? Which now, if we find, I think that's how he whoever it is, that's how he paid the traitor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
He
He's gonna
someone
pay
at that
to give him a
school.
quirk that that helps with
Mm-hmm.
the current quirk, or maybe it's an exchange situation where like my quirk sucks, please give me a different one. Like,
Or it was someone like Midoriya who was quirkless and wanted to go to UA, and they're like, or wanted to work at UA. Oh, you want to
yeah,
go work there? You need a quirk? I'll do it, but once I give you this, you got to pledge your
allegiance.
loyalty to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
But
But
you,
he's also such a manipulator. Could it be like, hey, I have so and so, like a distant relation, a parent or somebody is like, I did a favor for them back in the day. I could off them, which is skipping to the
mm-hmm,
next episode. Basically, I can off them because I put in basically what would you call that? Insurance. He put
escrow.
insurance in inside the quirk or the body or whatever, and just like, and I could just make them go boom or done whenever I want. So you have to do this. So like there's so many different avenues he can take, but he really, I think they said it the best about when they were trying to explain or figure out, because Hawks was kind of confused. He's like, why does, like, I understand why All for One needs Shigaraki's body, but like, why the hell does he need Shigaraki's hate? Like, what shouldn't he have enough of like animosity or like strong feelings about like getting his brother back or getting the quirk back?
Mm-hmm.
Like, shouldn't there be something? And I don't remember who it was, but he was like, I don't know what it is, but like, All for One is always laughing. And it's true because All for One is always got a big old fucking smile on his face. Like
Why
the
wouldn't? Why wouldn't
mastermind,
he?
the psychopath,
He's
like
5 steps ahead every day.
right. And basically nobody used the word, but I wonder if in the English dub they're actually going to use the word sociopath or psychopath for him.
Great thing on that English up side note has 2 episodes coming. Well, by the time you listen to this, they already had it. They had 2 episodes come out this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. But yeah, so I wonder if they're actually going to use that term because the sub was just saying that he was heartless. That he probably has no emotion, that he's heartless. And it was like, okay. Yeah.
It's so interesting with him because I want to know his backstory because for the fact that all of his abilities, he has to be like the descendant of that first kid with the quirk,
Right.
like
To
direct
be
descendant.
so, yeah.
Like he has to be because there's no reason that he literally woke up. He's the one who has all for one and can steal quirks. Like you have to be a direct descendant because it makes no sense for some random Joe Schmo to wake up with the ability to take anyone's quirk and then give the strongest quirk in the series to someone.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm honestly, my money is still on that Higakure, the invisible girl, is relate directly descended from the shining baby because they are light related quirks.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say that your thought is on that she's the traitor.
No, no, I don't think she's the traitor. I am curious why the fuck she wasn't at the fight. Why wasn't Shinsho at the fight? Like, why wasn't Monoma at the?
Maybe because I'm just saying those people. I mean, I don't think it shouldn't show, but I'm just saying
No,
it's very convenient to be invisible because then no one could see if you have a crooked smile when you're telling them something.
right,
Just saying.
right. I
But you
yeah.
go right into the next episode, this one that just came out this Saturday, and
This is the full fight. This is the
yeah, it's
full fight.
finally the full fight. Like The last episode was like, oh, introduction, we're getting shot at. But this is the full fight, and it's cat and mouse. Like it really. Oh no! Before we go, just
Okay.
real. It can be combined in this. So she is not alone at
No,
all. She
that's
has
right.
Mister
She had somebody in tow, her little pet
Overhaul,
project.
which I'm not gonna lie, since he's not fully psychologically there. If he was fully there, I would be freaking out because I know the last one I made the thing. I was like, dude, if Overhaul tells one for all about all for one about Aerie, it's over.
I feel like he knows about Eri already. He
Well, he
has
knows
to.
everything.
He knew who Chizaki was.
Mm-hmm.
My guess. Oh no, you're right though, because Shigaraki never knew that that's how Chisaki made
Yep.
the bullets.
Yep.
Oh, okay. You're right. You're
Because
right.
that
Okay,
goes back to the thing I said. Like he does. Like if he sells at him again, if All for One finds out about Aerie, it's over. It's
yeah,
over.
yeah.
Because there's no you can
He
get the
would have
great
her like rewind him back to his like
prime.
prime. Oh fuck! Like
There's no person you could get all the greatest writers of fiction, nonfiction in the world. There's no way you could write something like, "Oh, All for One gets Ares quirk and the heroes still win." That's impossible.
right.
There's no writing that could do that. But you have this cat and mouse of Midoriya dodging the bullets,
Mm.
Lady Naga talking about her stuff, which there's a lot to
Yeah, there's
unpack
a lot
there.
to unpack there, and it's so sad because, like, oh my God,
But
we see
is it
the flashback.
unexpected?
Yeah, huh?
Is it unexpected though when she was talking about like
No,
the hero commission?
no, it wasn't unexpected. I think for me, the frequency at which, like, for her, like I mentioned earlier, like her flashback, she kind of made it sound like she was often people behind the scenes
Yeah.
all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
so with Hawks, though, we kind of got that sense of okay, he's a double agent. They have him do all these things that are like more covert surveillance, whatever. But for up to what, as far as we know, the only person that he had the mission to kill was twice. And so for her, it became more apparent of like, no, if anything was going on, the commission didn't really want going on, or felt like there was a movement that was gaining a little too much power, would like shift public opinion or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'll just go ahead and go over there. And then I mean she did willingly kill the head of the commission.
Well,
Um
she did that after she got to a certain point because I mean they were any
right.
anytime she was killing she was offing a whole bunch of people. Like
Yeah.
anytime the commission who okay, they decide who like anytime they're like, oh, this hero is taking advantage of the system, kill him.
Yep.
This villain, and she was killing villains before they even committed a crime. So I don't even know how you call someone a villain if they didn't commit the crime yet. But
Right.
they're like, oh, this person may. If anyone
They're
who's watched
planning
like
the whole kind of like they're plotting that they have like a terroristic plot and
kill them,
whatever.
but it's like for anyone out there who's ever watched like Captain America: Winter Soldier, where they're
Mhm.
like, oh, we're making these machine guns to predict if someone's gonna do something bad, which that never works out in any form of fiction. But yeah, she was killing them. She's like, oh, if I kill anyone, it's like, does it make this place better? And it's like, hey, if you start turning the other way, we're gonna have to put you down. And then she killed him. And even
Yep.
then, they said that she killed
That
a
yeah, that
fellow
she that
hero.
she was put in jail for killing other heroes, and they made it, at least from the snippet of the paper I understood or like saw the translation for, is they tried to make it sound like not like a quarrel, but that she just kind of went rogue and just started offing heroes.
Yeah.
And they didn't really mention about the commission. And I think the thing that got me though is when Hawks and Endeavor eventually got to the fight and she was able to talk to Hawks briefly. She thought when she killed the chairman that the commission would just be done, because when
Oh
Hawks is
no.
like, I'm your replacement, she's like, oh, so they kept and it's like, yeah, girlfriend, you really think you're gonna kill the chairman and the board's just gonna disappear? So
Oh
I'm
no. No, that
right.
is not how this world works. I would say too with that situation, it's not uncommon. Like, and I mean, you have the people who do the dirty work behind the scenes who'd get no credit. Obviously, like she wanted to shake those kids' hands, but anytime she saw her hand, it was all the
I
blood of
know
all the
that was so
people.
sad when they illustrated that. I was like, oh God, that's terrible. That's
So,
terrible.
I mean, it's just not uncommon, which it
Mm-mm.
sucks, but that's how, I mean, you look at governments for your hit men, hit women, like all of that. And it's weird. I think with the commission, I want to know if they're governed, but like, this is why I love the third movie so much because you saw
Hmm.
more of the government. You saw the United Nations of heroes, like the
Right.
UN. I'm like, does the commission answer them? Like, who the hell?
Is the
Because
commission, how do they get put on the commission? Like
are
what?
they voted in? Like, is it like a government like voted in like Congress stuff like that? Because I want to know how these heads of people pick out the perfect assassins for
Right.
their stuff. Like, is it one of those things like, oh, when a kid's born, you get all their files, you get all their backstory? Oh, this.
Well,
You
we
have
know
a
how they found Hawks, but for her, like we don't get that story. We just know that they found her again pretty young. Actually, she looked older than Hawks was.
but why I guess why would they even take like you don't even know what Hawks can do, and you're like, oh, we're just gonna train
Well,
you
no,
to
no, no.
something
With
like that.
Hawks, they knew that he could control the feathers because remember he saved all of those people from the burning bus.
That's true. But I guess like with them is like, oh, this I guess what their choices are like, all right, we saw what he can do. Is he a good enough replacement for Lady? And now
Right,
just thinking about it, like we only see these two. Who did she replace? Like how
right.
long has this been
How long
going
have they been
within
doing
the
this? Right. And to
shadows?
me, I was like, for him to be like, oh, I'm your replacement, kind of like the direct one after. I'm like, oh, they only control one at a time? Because, like, for me, I'm thinking, like, the bonds, whatever, 007 is the best, but there's a 006, there's a 005. Like, there's more than one agent. So, like, I think it's kind of naive to also believe that they only have one. Because that's a lot of eggs in one basket. Like, because what if Hawks would have decided like, you know what, guys, actually no, this isn't for me. Peace out. I'm taking the skills you gave me and getting the fuck out.
I mean, again, it's a character analysis stuff. I mean, you only need one. Look at Naruto. You only need Itachi to take out the whole clan. You picked one. You didn't use all the Anbu. You picked one.
That's true.
Like you pick the kindest person who wants peace and all that stuff. And like even she was talking about like this is all like a sham and
Hmm.
which it's so interesting. And then she's like, it's she was so jaded by all the stuff and all the things. She's like, I'd rather have a world that all for one is freaking
Right. When
controlling.
she said
That's
that, I was like,
bad.
okay, 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 okay. Like you can be detached, you can be all traumatized, you can not believe in the system as it is set up. Cool. Like I'm not against you. But as soon as she said, like, I'd rather in a world, I'm like, no, no, no. just just no. Why would you think that is a better world? Like why? Because at that point everybody's got free reign, and while again, yes, a lot of people put freedom as like the top thing to have, but then there's also no level of checks and balances with all for
Mm-hmm.
one. All for one controls everything. So like your freedom, quote unquote, comes with a leash directly to him, and this man is fucking psycho, which she unfortunately decided to learn a little too late. Because when, again, and this is the whole, oh, the insurance, that mother effer. Oh my God.
Yeah, but before we
Okay.
get to that
Okay.
too,
Okay.
because that's
Yeah.
near the end. Midoriya has a power up. We teased
Yes.
it a little bit.
Yes.
Midoriya has a power up, another quirk. Well, one, his processing has significantly improved in this. That
Yes.
war has changed him, like from a strategic standpoint, from a
Mhm.
fighting ability standpoint. But now, Andrea, he has a new quirk that they almost kind of debuted on the low. Like if you
They
weren't like
really did. Like they
paying
really kind
attention.
of like threw it out there. It's the third wielder's quirk.
Mm-hmm.
So the third wielder has decided to help out. And I believe it's called Fuajin. And if
Yep.
I am understanding it correctly, essentially it's like he's able to store kinetic energy in certain parts of his body and use it to kind of like have explosive movements or explosive speed. which
So with the quirks now, with that, if you're like super into like comic stuff, each quirk almost is something from like a comic book hero ish. Like Black Whip obviously is like the
Batman,
Spider-Man stuff, or any superhero who uses like a grappling hook or something, like who's like going
right?
around the city. Danger Sense, that is literally from Spider-Man, the Spider
Yeah, Spider
Sense.
Sense,
Smoke Screen is stuff for like non-powered like superheroes like a Batman or something like
and
that to like
yep,
kinetic energy one, if you've watched this, is from Black Panther. Like his suit stores kinetic energy and then he
right.
can explode it on impact.
That's right. I forgot about
So each one is coming from an American type superhero. And that is very interesting in the fact that like you can build it up, store it, and then you can release explosive burst speed and power. It's literally like Black Panther's suit,
that. Mm-hmm. Yes.
but which is great. And I mean, I
I
don't know
was
how
hoping
that's,
for something a little better, not
yeah, which is
why.
bad. It's bad, but you're like, this isn't beating Shigaraki. This isn't beating All for One.
It's
Now
just
we only have one left.
we have one left, and we see towards the end of the episode as well, the third wielder going to the second wielder, and again, also I think we kind of glossed over it, but the first, second, and third wielder all met each other.
Mm-hmm.
The second and third wielder were storming All for One's, I guess, hideout or base or
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Yep.
and found, the first wielder of One for All locked up in a cage, essentially, a dungeon or whatever you want to call it, in a cell. And that's where they get into the whole of like, well, why did you rescue me? Like, you make that argument about like your enemy is your enemy no matter what. I was holed up in this area, but you still, saved me, blah, 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 whatever. But we see the third wielder going to the second one. And the second wielder, you look at his face, he looks like Bakugo. He
Mm-hmm.
looks like Bakugo, but he's got more of like a orangish pink kind of hair and eye color. But he looks exactly fucking like Bakugo.
You know, it's going to be crazy if
What?
Bakugo's a descendant of that second user, and
He has to be.
that's the reason One
Like,
for All didn't kill him in the second movie. Can you? That could be the reason, because then it makes sense. It's like, all right, so there was someone in your family who had this quirk, and by the grace of God, he's like, I don't want to. He could be like, I don't want to fully transfer this quirk to my last descendant of our bloodline, because I don't want the burden on him. Something stupid, or
I don't
like
know.
his
Maybe
body. I'm telling. I mean, when people look alike, it's not
it's
for
not
no
right.
reason.
Right. You still got money that Nana is like distantly related to Midoriya.
Somehow.
But going back to, yeah, so I was hoping the quirks that he still had to develop, because the new ones for us, in these last couple episodes, were smoke screen and the Flojin.
Mm-hmm.
So smoke screen is also useful, but I was really hoping for something, like something. Midoriya uses the Flojin so freaking well and strategically, and the fact that he
First
has such a,
try.
right, um is great, but like we really needed one or two quirks that are really just overpowered. I'm really hoping the second quirk is just fucking god tier, because also think about it, from what we understood or the way I viewed it, the second and third were kind of, the head and co-head of the movement to take down All for One. You have to have some pretty good quirks to even attempt that. So I'm really hoping number two's quirk is just balls to the wall amazing.
I
Just
want to know when number one died.
that too. That too, because like since all three of them were alive at the same time, I feel like they had to, and they stated that they basically pass it on between each other in quick succession. So it had to have been that I don't know. Like I would like to know that story of when it was decided, or if they like just kind of took the first wielder captive to try to get more information or something, and then he's like, "No, you're a good person. Here, let me give you this quirk." But they didn't really know that the quirk was gonna
I
build
also,
like that.
it's also crazy how All for One kills all these people, but he never kills them quickly enough to stop the quirk
That's right.
transferring. It's so weird that that's never happened. And again,
Right.
all of them died. The only one who did not die to him was All Might. All Might's the only person to
No, no,
beat
no,
him.
because what's his face? Danger Sense.
Well,
He died of old age.
he died of, well, he was the one who didn't want to go fight him, but
Well,
everyone
right.
else,
The fourth and the fifth both were like when we had the quirk, we just focused on, laying low and training and building it up. So
yeah.
I don't know that the dude with Black Whip was killed by him.
Let's assume he is, because
Okay.
Nana died to him. The second and third probably died to him. Like All Might's the only person with One for All who was beaten All for One.
That's true. Yes, 100%.
Beat him twice. So it's kind of crazy if All Might thought he killed him the first time,
You
but
really should. Honestly, like with the amount of like support that is needed to keep him alive, and this is where like I understand the Hippocratic oath, but like, come on, the world's worst supervillain. Can't you just like let him go?
he didn't have to let him. I mean, oh, you mean
No,
when he
I'm talking about
was,
the medical, like, because like obviously after the war, even the harmed villains, you have to take them to the hospital. They have to,
yeah,
like, that's you have to. But I'm just like, like, oh, he needs so much medical, like whatever. It's like, couldn't we have just like, couldn't somebody have just like tripped and pulled the plug accidentally or something, something. But
yeah.
yeah, that's
So
that's not okay, and I don't actually believe that.
it's
But
interesting too, like seeing Midoriya's thing because Midoriya beats her, and like
yes,
this is someone who Hawks was like, hey, like now you're like if Midoriya's beating people Hawks is afraid of. He's reaching a higher level of
and he
power.
is.
Beats,
He's when he said faux 100%, I'm like, yo, you found a way. Midoriya, you found a way to get things through without hurting herself. Thank God. Also, call back to Melissa, her support items that she
yep,
developed. He has
yep.
them reinforcing his arms, thankfully, so he's not getting
Hmm.
hurt. But with
Movies are
his
canon, man.
yes, yes. So man, just when he was like using um one for all and then using the other quirks in tandem kind of created that faux 100% type impact, and it was beautiful, and he did it twice if I recall.
Yeah.
He was able to do it twice.
Back to Melissa. I don't know why All Might doesn't get her to Japan ASAP. Like, you're probably going to need more tech for this final battle. And if All for One goes
Also, we
and
haven't
blows,
seen Hatsume in a minute, and like her tech is not nearly as good as Melissa's, but like still, like
I don't think we're going to see anyone in the school for a minute.
we're not going to see anybody ever again, honestly, at this
Mm.
point. I mean, I don't think we're going to see much of Class 1A until season 7.
Well, there's 5 episodes left.
That's
Next
true.
one, next one is called Friend. Who knows if I don't know who is referring to, so we'll see.
Ooh, that's a good point.
But with Melissa too, it's like again from a like every superhero has like that person in the chair who's like, the emotional thing, like All Might is, but then you have the tech person.
Yep.
Melissa's the tech person. Like, what if All for One's like, oh, you know what? I don't want Midoriya getting tech. I'm going to go blow up America. Like, don't.
My
It's
other
not
thing,
something he put. Don't put it past him. But
no, you can't.
Midoriya, he hit a Bakugo. It was an absolute victory.
Yes.
He beat Lady physically, and he was able to get through her mentally.
Lee,
To
yes.
like, it was a total defeat. Like, oh, these people ain't so bad. Yada
And the
yada.
way he did it too, it was just, it was so, like it touched my heart because again, like I didn't necessarily 100% disagree with her. Like I understand why, whatever, but like I know I wouldn't have had the words, like how I would have wanted to explain or like how to get through. And it was just so, it was heartwarming. It was well done. The whole that, her right arm, which is the one with the gun, was going to be, the commission told her, was like, you're going to make this country safer, essentially, like with that right arm of yours.
She
The
was the
right
win.
arm is
She
the
was the
one that,
winter soldier.
yeah,
That's what she was.
yep. And then,
All for One
she's
said,
supposed,
"F your happy endings." That is
yes,
basically
and
what he
freaking
said.
blew her up. That, you know what that reminded me of?
Mm.
Kibutsuji, when he gives his blood, that if the demons start like use his name, whatever, he
Mm-hmm.
knows and he fucking just nerfs him, just kills him.
All for One had a plan. He's like, just in case
Contingency
you
was like,
do
oh,
fail.
how cute. LOL JK. Oh, with the giant ass grin on his face and just like,
He's
ugh.
terrible. Like he was just. It's funny too. He's like, if you fail, I have a plan. You start talking, I have a plan
The
because
plan.
she said. Because now when we talk about the end, she said in 2 months I was supposed to bring this person, and there's other assassins out there. We're supposed to bring Midoriya
Yeah.
to this whatever. I already forget the location, but it's a location in two
Mm-hmm.
months. So that means in 2 months this final battle is supposed to happen,
Yep.
which they can't wait the 2 months because obviously if it's 2 months, that means in 2 months Shigaraki's everything's going to be
100%.
100%. They almost got to go now,
Right.
which
And
they
that's the other
won't,
thing
but
is
they need to.
when I first watched it, I was like, oh, so that's where they are. Like they're gonna go get him. And I was like, wait a minute. He's not that dumb. He's gonna go there probably a couple days before the 2 month mark. He's not there now. He's not that dumb. He's
Or all
not
for
dumb at
one
all.
lied, all for one lied to Lady, and like that's not the real location he's at. That's just gonna be
True.
someone who picks him up. Because again, this guy is different. He's um
Oh,
then you see Overhaul because he gets an Endeavor gets him from the top of the building, and he's talking
yep.
about how he wants to apologize to the old guy who gave him a life, which again, I have no problem with the old guy.
No.
I understand why, but then Midoriya, like you talked about earlier in the episode, like he's matured significantly in this season. Like, and he's like, "Oh, you want to apologize to the old person? I'll honor that if you go show that same thing to Eri." And I'm like, mm,
I'm
one,
gonna
you're not
say
going back to the school, so I don't know how the fuck you're doing that.
right.
But
For me, my other thing was like Midoriya, like that I don't know that that apology is anything that would help Ari, that Ari would appreciate. Like maybe she would, and that's great. But like it's kind of that idea to me of like make having an offender like force an offender to apologize to the victim
Mhm.
when the victim didn't necessarily ask for that and might not want to, see them, hear them, be in the same physical space as them ever again. Um, and the other thing for me is the fact that when Midoriya is like, do you remember Ari? Do you remember what you did to her? And again, he's not all there mentally, but for him to just kind of be like, Ari, oh yeah. And then for Midoriya to be like, I need you to direct that like apology towards Ari is like, he's not even fully like he doesn't fully grasp the level of hurt and pain and like trauma that he inflicted on this small child and you want him to I don't want to say fake the apology because I'm maybe he does mean it, but the fact that his primary focus is I need to apologize to this man to redirect it to somebody it's not intended to, it just comes across as like icky to me. Like it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel like it's going to be disingenuine. Um also my she's still a small child. She's like 8, 9 years old. Like I would have wanted her co-signing on this beforehand. Like I would have wanted her to be like, and I'm sure honestly, if they do meet up, I'm sure Midoriya is gonna be like, hey Eri, you know, Chisaki's, outside or Chisaki's over here. He wants to apologize to you. Like, do you want to see like I don't think he's gonna force her to hear that apology, but I just thought that was kind of weird. I that made me feel a little uncomfortable, honestly.
so these situations are why when you're doing podcasts with people or discussions, especially about anime, how people can watch the same exact episode and think of two completely different things. And then when you hear someone, you're like, oh, that makes sense. So what your stuff does make sense. But when I heard that, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, Midoriya, you freaking dumbass. You just saw All for One planted a thing in Lady and blew her up. What if he has something in Overhaul too? And when
Right.
he sees Eri, it takes Eri.
I did not consider that at all because, like, from what I could, well, obviously Midoriya doesn't know anything,
He
but
doesn't, but it's like
from what we saw, like one for all for one, excuse me, all for one didn't approach Tazaki specifically. So
that
like
we saw
in
on
my head,
screen.
I was kind of like, okay, like he's just ignoring that dude, whatever. But oh my god, that's totally a possibility. Holy
Or
shit.
I mean, you get in a situation where like, yeah, like that stuff, or it triggers overhaul. It's like, oh, you're here, you can rewind my arms, and he has
That's where I thought it was going to. That's where
it can
my
go there
other
too.
thing.
It can go there, but all for one could be have a bug in his ear, like, hmm, what's rewind? Because he's
What does
listening
that
through
do?
overhaul. Yeah.
Fuck.
Like I just feel like he was being too happy. I mean, if this does happen, I think it'd be at the end of the series. It can't
Right.
happen now. It cannot happen right now.
I don't know.
But
My other prediction as I was watching it happen is Eri is so kind-hearted. Eri is a good person.
she's gonna do it.
I think she would do it unprompted. I think she would be, she would hear that apology and, she probably knows about her grandfather. She
Oh,
probably
that's
also is aware that her grandfather didn't want this happening to her. So I wonder if, with the heartfelt apology, blah, 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 Ari would be like, I forgive you. Can you put my grandpa back? But the other thing about that is technically Ari has the power to put her grandpa back to normal herself.
she just
So
got to know where he's located. I don't know if I mean all that stuff, but that'd be a great thing to have. Shigaraki's gonna be 100%. Aries kind heartedness and Midoriya not thinking gives overall his full powers back. That'd just be great.
yes. I don't know. My thing is, I think Aries is going to have full control over power, and we might have to do backpack Aries again, so Midoriya is able to beat Shigaraki.
I mean, that'd even be if Aerie has full control over power, that even makes her more of a target.
Yeah.
Because I think they're gonna go kill people UA anyway. Eraser's getting killed. There's no way All for One's letting that man live. I'm back on it.
My other thing for him is he's got an eye patch. We see him with an actual eye patch, so I'm like, shit. Does that mean he only has the one eye and so his quirk is half as powerful? What if he needs both eyes for it to activate?
Well, he was the only sensei of this past 10 years Ishin who didn't have an eye patch of some sort.
Yeah, that's true.
So they had to. My hero's like, all right, we finally got to get ours too.
Yep.
But it was a way to episode. Then you see Midoriya getting more angry, the rage building about All for One swelling up. So
Yep.
then that's how it ends. And then we have Friend. And then the next time we come back, like I said earlier, that'll be the end of season 6,
Oh man. Oh man.
which I don't. I think of these next 4 episodes, I think we're going to have a return of. Do we have a rematch of Midoriya versus Stain? Like, I
Oh
think
my god, that's right.
he's
While I
out
was
there
watching the
now.
episode, I was wondering if Stain was gonna come in and help him. Cause like Stain deemed him worthy. So like I honestly thought for a half a second, when it seemed like Midoriya was caught that by Lady Naga, that Stain would show up and help him. That's what I thought was gonna happen. I didn't yeah. Oh, can we also talk about All Might's moment of just like
Owing
the
those
thugs?
people.
Yes, that the thugs basically nerf the car and then they realize like, hey, oh my, like one of them is like, hey, oh my god, it's All Might, like, oh, we should like leave. And then the other dude's like, nah, like look at him, he's all skinny, he can't do shit to us. And All Might's just like, move. And they're just like struck with fear. And I'm like, yes. Also, I noticed recently, so during earlier seasons in All Might's, like quote unquote civilian form, he was always very hunched over and very like he still looks weak, he's still skinny, but in these scenes, we see him completely standing upright. We see him with like his shoulders back, like he is like his physical presence is there again instead of being hunched over and like kind of like
Yeah, like that to
extra
that,
decrepit, I guess.
like I guess what Stain was calling it, like the killing intent, all that stuff. They're like, yeah, he might be skinny, but we don't want to mess with. I will say I do like this fit they have him in right now. Like
Yes.
I like the fit. Like I
Yes.
really do. And
Same.
honestly, I wanted the thugs to attack him because I wanted to see
I
them
wanted to see
fight.
him throw hands. I wanted to see him go hand to hand, just like because I mean, he had to know how to fight,
Oh yeah,
obviously.
like
So like he still knows how to fight. He's just not
mhm.
as physically strong anymore. So yeah, no, I wanted to see that too. I was hoping,
I
but
thought he
I
was
thought
gonna
it was
scare
badass
them.
that his determination to be like, nothing bad in this world is gonna happen to Midoriya unless I'm fucking dead. And it was like, oh, okay.
Well, I thought he was gonna scare them by just quickly just going to the muscle form real quick.
No, I don't think he can do that anymore.
He can't. That was like his thing. Because remember, he did that when he lost his quirk to talk to Midoriya's mom.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah, he
right.
can still do it. It's just he can only be in that form for like a
Seconds.
second. But like
Yeah.
that would if they would have saw big old
See, but
All Might.
I think as time has progressed though, I don't think he can anymore because I think that's part of why his vestige inside Midoriya is becoming more clear. Like it's still that kind of golden swirly whatever because he's still alive,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not sure. Maybe you're totally right, but I feel like because when that happened, it was what, season 4?
Mm-hmm.
So it's 2 seasons on, it's several months on. My guess also is I feel like maybe All Might doesn't do it because then since the quirk is tied between vestiges, I'm guessing if he turns it on, he's pulling from some of that power instead of just letting it all go and just be in Midoriya, if that makes sense. Like I know they're not physically tied together or tethered together, but in my head that makes sense. Maybe that doesn't actually make sense, but to me, in my head that makes sense.
I would also say just to go back to that thing, like, well, all the other users. So here one for all. Either you died of old age or all for one killed you. No in
Yeah,
between. He's
no.
the only one who survived and all that stuff. But those were the 4 episodes that have happened. The next one is Friend. We don't know who is being referred to. We only see
I
the
feel like
clips.
Friend is probably about Bakugo.
Could be. It could be. Or it could be about someone else. I mean, we do not know. It could be someone else talking about their friend.
That's true. That's true. I think I feel safe betting money that it's probably Bakugo. I would like. I would like.
We'll see if
Or
he.
maybe, ooh, maybe because we kind of see towards the very end, the third vestige talking to the second one about like, hey, like we got to do this, man. Maybe it's going to be about them and their friendship.
Could be. It's going to be something. And these are the last 4 episodes of season 6. And then you wait for a season 7 announcement. But Andrew, anything else you'd like to say about these past 4 episodes of My Hero Academia season 6?
Watching Midoriya's evolution and watching him grow. Also, I feel like his insecurity, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe slightly lack of self confidence is gone at this point. That he maybe not that he's completely self assured, but he is very like, okay, this is what I can do, this is what I need to work on, and we need to do it ASAP. So he's very hyper focused, and I find that admirable and very like it makes me happy to see that instead of I don't know. It doesn't make sense to have him have like, the muttering, stuttering kind of downward spiral at these
Mm-hmm.
times when it's like so serious. But I feel like with some of his insecure tendencies previous, I wondered if they might have thrown in there just kind of moments where it's like, oh my God, can I really do this? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm glad they haven't. It would be normal for him to have some of it, but I really appreciate kind of seeing him fully like, this is what I need to do. And he's fully invested. He's fully immersed himself in it and hasn't shown any level of doubt. Actually, I kind of get the feeling, I think I already said this earlier, but I get the feeling at the end of this episode, seeing that rage build, um, I feel like he might actually strike out on his own, that he might actually leave the covert team.
Potentially. I think with Midoriya, it's going to be one of those things where In the Naruto thing where Naruto like, oh, I'm gonna go win the war all by myself, and then Itachi's like, that's not how you do things. Like that moment for him's gonna come, and that's how he's gonna
Right.
reunite with
And I'm pretty
Class
sure
1A and all of
Uraraka is
them.
that right. And I think that's Uraraka is gonna be the one that tells him is like you can't do
You
this
really think so?
or
You
you
think it's gonna be
shouldn't.
her?
I think it might be. I think everybody else will show up, but for that moment to like get through to him, it'll be Uraraka, just like Hinata's slap to Naruto.
I think it'll be Bakugo.
Hmm.
Just because it's like if you hear like someone who hasn't, well, I mean, now because of total victory, but like really emphasizing teamwork,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I think that's Midoriya's gonna be like, well, if Bakugo's talking about like teamwork and all that stuff, because I don't know, it's weird because I mean he wrote all those letters and stuff. Even though I hate their relationship, at least Sasuke said bye to Sakura when he left. Like when he left the village apart.
Well,
When
that's
he
because Sakura was physically there. Like if Sakura had
Midoriya could
gone
have
out
showed up
there,
at the school and said bye to Uraraka before he left. I mean, it'll be weird because their stuff's just gonna like super well if he survives, and then like they get married like super quick and all that stuff post
mm-hmm.
whatever the hell this all this stuff is over. But I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see because last time in season 4 when he was down, it was Ida who got him back on track when they were doing the lunch thing. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Or it could be
Well,
Todoroki.
it was Ida and Todoroki because
Yeah,
Todoroki
it
was the
could
one
be
that
them
told him
again.
like, hey, like because Midoriya was like, heroes, don't cry or whatever, and Todoroki's like, no, they do if they need to, and it was
Yeah.
like, fuck.
It could be Todoroki's like, hey man, if I never met you, my family wouldn't be what it is right now. So
Mhm. I wouldn't be what I am, and the fact that Todoroki's shift is kind of what is keeping his family afloat.
mhm.
Because I think if Todoroki had continued his way, he wouldn't have turned into a villain, obviously, but I don't think his family would have come to the level of understanding. I won't say reconciliation, but understanding within each other. Um, if he was still hate central.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll be back in literally 1 month from today. That'd be the end of March, and we'll be
I'm
back.
not ready.
Final 4 episodes. Anything else?
Oh man, no. Well, honestly, I kind of wish there was more material so we could have another movie. Just because I want my hero
Well, we don't
forever.
know. Something could be in the works.
You think? I don't. I feel
I
like
mean, none of these movies were like from the manga. I mean, they were like they make sense that they were placed, but it's not like you can read about these movies.
the second one
Two
was.
heroes. No,
Yeah, I thought that was canon.
I mean they all
Oh,
are, but it's not like well, it's canon
oh,
to
understood. Okay, yeah,
canon to like the anime. Like this
yeah,
happened, this,
yeah.
but it's not like they weren't like in the original manga.
Got you.
Because just think about it. We're talking about vigilantes. They could do the My Hero Vigilante movie.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be freaking cool.
When you have cash cows like these, unless they are really out of ideas, then there could be another movie. We just don't know when.
True.
But with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Leave your comments down below wherever you listen. We'll be back literally 1 month from now talking about the end of season 6 and how we feel about it. That being said,
Absolutely.
take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.